Let's have a look at the links between the SNP and Iran, shall we? Where shall we start? There's plenty of material. Let's start here. SNP criticised after alleged apologist for the Iranian regime is elected to party role in the SNP. Ali Salamati, who was a councillor in East Kilbride, has been accused of being an Iranian regime apologist despite the controversy surrounding the country. He attended the controversial Quds rally in central London and he shared a post on Facebook praising Iran's foreign minister and defending the country's right to pursue a missile programme. In May 2020, Mr. Salamati also participated in an online conference to celebrate the 42nd anniversary of the Islamic Revolution. Okay, I'm sure the voters in East Kilbride weren't quite aware what they were getting when they were voting for the SNP in that council election, but there we go. Anyway, Mr. Salamati then suddenly resigned as a councillor, but then he popped up again. People thought he'd gone off to live in the Middle East, but no. He was in Glasgow, overseeing the Iranian presidential election, Glasgow polling station. Did you know there was such a thing? Well, there is. And he was there overseeing it, obviously on behalf of the Iranian state. You might assume probably employed by the Iranian state in some way to help administer the election. So that was just a year later. Now, Salamati there, he's also the president of the Al-Mahdi Islamic Centre in Glasgow. And one of his colleagues from the Al-Mahdi Islamic Centre was also there at the polling station, apparently helping out as well, Jalil Rostami Azal. Now, he was photographed the previous year speaking to a representative of the Iranian regime in Tehran, speaking about how to support Iranian citizens living overseas. So another connection with the Iranian regime. Now let's carry on. What was that Islamic organisation called where this councillor was the president? Al-Mahdi Islamic Centre. Right, let's go back to Al-Mahdi Islamic Centre. Lo and behold, the SNP government has given them £372,000 between 2014 and 2020. That's a very substantial sum of money. So, questions have been raised after it was revealed that the Scottish Government gave thousands in grants to a charity based in Glasgow, which is located in a controversial mosque. So the Al-Mahdi Centre displayed Iranian flags and images of Ayatollah Khomeini, who issued a death sentence to British author Salman Rushdie, and his successor Khamenei, who praised Hamas resistance fighters after the October the 7th atrocities in Israel. Al-Mahdi's Islamic Centre's constitution states, well, basically it states that the way Iran's run is the way all countries should be run. So it's basically run by Shia Muslim clergy. So £370,000 of our money given to this Islamic organisation. Now, why was this money given to Al-Mahdi? It was given under the banner of climate change funding to reduce their carbon footprint. Right. Is it possible that that was the genuine reason why this money was given to this Islamic organisation? Well, no. Absolutely no way. That is just not true. Was it given to them just in the SNP style of just trying to buy the votes of a particular section of the community? Well, maybe. Was it given to them because, well, this SNP councillor was connected there? SNP councillor, he'd know the MSPs, he'd know some government ministers. They might say to him, hey, why don't you apply for one of these climate change grants? Maybe he was saying to them, I'm involved in this organisation, can you help? Oh, yeah, well, maybe, apply for one of these. Who knows what conversations went on behind the scenes? Another possibility is did the SNP give the money to this organisation because they knew it was very supportive and possibly linked in some ways even with Iran in order to maintain a close, warm relationship with the Iranian regime? Well, which of those was it? A problem. We can dismiss the climate change one. That's obviously not true. But out of the others, a mixture of them? Well, we can speculate, can't we? Now, let's just remember, I think we need to remind you of this from time to time because it's a very significant story. Let's remember the Al-Mizan Islamic charity in Glasgow that operates basically from one house. It's a women's organisation and they received £150,000 to reduce their carbon footprint 1 year, and they got £150,000 to reduce their carbon footprint the year after as well. And the 2 years when they got that grant happened to be, by remarkable coincidence, it happened to be the 2 years when Humza Yousaf's mum was involved in the charity. I'll put a link at the end of this one. You can check out the facts for that. Just looking at the accounts for Al Mizan, who else gives them money? Macmillan Cancer Research, Glasgow Life, that's basically a branch of Glasgow City Council, University of Stirling. I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, back to our main theme. Another story related to Iran. Nicola Sturgeon distances herself from controversial cleric who compared gay marriage to bestiality. Miss Sturgeon twice attended a conference alongside a cleric who compared gay marriage to bestiality. Right, the Jewish Chronicle reported that Miss Sturgeon twice attended a conference alongside Dr. Mohammed Shomali, who served as an official representative of Ayatollah Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, at the annual Peace and Unity Conference in Glasgow in 2017 and 2018. Now, they're saying about this bloke that he wrote, 100 years ago it would have been unthinkable for gay marriages to be sanctioned. Perhaps a day will come where some will desire marriage with animals. Okay, that's what he said. Okay, that is not comparing gay marriage to bestiality. So the headline is just wrong. But the significant thing is, again, this is Nicola Sturgeon, the sort of event that the SNP loves. What was it called again? Peace and Unity Conference. Who's there? People, pretty close to the top of the regime in Iran. Right, that's Nicola Sturgeon. Let's go to Alex Salmond. I mean, this is the biggest story, I would say, really here. Alex Salmond and other SNP politicians hold Iran trade talks. This is back in 2015. So it's after Alex Salmond stood down as SNP leader, but he's still active. He's still an MP, very much involved in the SNP. Mr. Salmond said that as foreign affairs spokesman for Westminster's third largest party, he and his team had access to key international figures such as Iran's foreign minister, who he met on his trip to the Middle East. And Alex Salmond said it has resulted in Iranian support for Bill Kidd's advocacy of the Interparliamentary Campaign Against Nuclear Weapons. Now, try not to laugh here. So Bill Kidd, the SNP MSP, is still an MSP. He obviously had some campaign against nuclear weapons, and he went over to Iran and he got Iran to support his campaign against nuclear weapons. I mean, anyway, so here's a picture of Alex Salmond and his delegation meeting Iranian officials. And Alex Salmond wrote after that in the Courier, Iran could be a valuable ally. Also, Alex Salmond suggested that Iran should have a Scotland Week, a special celebration of Scottish culture in Iran. Now, why was that? I mean, this really is trying to generate a very warm and close relationship with Iran in particular. And then we find out just a couple of weeks ago, when Iran basically turned off the internet, a lot of bots promoting Scottish independence on social media sort of disappeared, or stopped activity. So it seems pretty apparent that the Iranian regime is using online tactics, if you like, to try and influence the Scottish independence debate in the direction of Scottish independence. Now, that doesn't mean that the Iranian regime actually thinks Scottish independence would be a good idea. I don't think it's not an end in itself, but I suspect they do see it as a way of causing mischief for the UK state. So Alex Salmond and his delegation, were they there just for trade talks? Or was it a little bit more than that? Now, if you're a nationalist seeking secession from a nation, the temptation, and it is a temptation, is to ally yourself with any enemies of the state you're trying to secede from. And enemies of the United Kingdom would want to support nationalist movements, secessionist movements within the United Kingdom. That's just the way it is. Now, if your drive towards Scottish independence overwhelms your sense of common morality, then you might start seeking alliance and assistance from pretty unsavoury sources. And has this happened in this case? Well, we can have our suspicions, can't we? You'd have thought the SNP would have learnt their lesson on this, considering their links with Nazism back in the 1930s. I'll put a link to a video at the end you might find interesting. Now, obviously, to say that, that's not to make any moral judgment about Scottish independence and people who campaign for Scottish independence in general. I'm just talking about one particular temptation that they can fall into, and I suspect they have fallen into in the case of Iran. Now, when the anti-government protests were taking place a couple of weeks ago in Iran, people said they thought John Swinney was pretty slow off the mark to have anything to say about it, whereas anything Gaza, Palestine, just on it again and again and again. And on Saturday at the Parliament, there was a big Iranian protest, basically anti-regime protest. And there was also a big pro-Palestine protest. And apparently it was pretty tense between them. There was hostility between them. There were no punches thrown, but apparently it was pretty tense. And you can see why. The pro-Palestine protesters, well, who's fighting on the side of Palestine, would they say it? Well, maybe we've got Hamas. Hamas is supported by Iran. Israel and USA are anti-Iranian. The SNP is very pro-Palestine. The SNP is anti-Semitic. Ditto Iran. So you can sort of see the parallels there. You can see that they've got scope to be in agreement on these things. So what can I say in conclusion, having looked at this? Right, fact number one. The SNP have made overtures to the Iranian regime. Fact number two. The Iranian regime actively supports the Scottish independence campaign. Do I suspect that these two facts are not entirely unrelated? Yes, I do.